In the large Persian Empire, ruled by King Xerxes, there was a time of great wealth and celebration. Xerxes, known for his power and riches, decided to show off his kingdom's greatness by hosting a grand banquet for 180 days. He displayed all his majesty and splendor. However, during the last days of this feast, one act of disobedience started a chain of events that would change the fate of an entire people.
Let us enjoy the splendor of our kingdom. Bring Queen Vashti so she can display her beauty to my guests.
A servant left to find Queen Vashti, but moments later, he returned, bowing deeply. The servant informed the king that the queen refused to come.
How dare she defy me? What is to be done according to the law?
The courtiers huddle and whisper among themselves. One steps forward and says, "Your Majesty, if it pleases you, let a decree be issued that Vashti is never again to enter your presence. Let the king give her royal position to someone better than she." King Xerxes nods and responds, "So be it. Send out the decree." And so the search for a new queen began. In the search for a new queen, young women from all over the empire were brought to the palace. Among them was Esther, a beautiful and graceful young Jewish woman raised by her cousin Mordecai. No one knew that Esther's destiny was connected to the future of her people. Under the watchful eye of Hathach, the eunuch in charge of the harem, Esther found favor and received special treatment. But there was a secret she had to keep. Hathach, the eunuch in charge, approaches Esther and says,
"You, Esther, have found favor in my eyes. You will be given special treatment."
Esther is led to a separate area while Mordecai stands nearby, watching. He whispers to Esther,
"Do not reveal your nationality or family background."
I understand, cousin.
In the Persian Empire, Jews were often mistrusted. Mordecai knew that if people found out Esther was Jewish, she could be in danger. To protect her and possibly influence the king, Esther had to keep her identity secret. When Esther was brought before King Xerxes, her beauty and grace made him favor her above all others. In a grand ceremony, she was crowned queen, but the real importance of this event was yet to come.
This one pleases me more than all the others. Esther shall be my queen.
And Esther became queen, but she kept her Jewish heritage a secret, as Mordecai had instructed. Even as Esther's status rose, a secret plot was forming in the palace. Mordecai, her watchful protector, overheard two eunuchs, Bigthan and Teresh, talking about a plan to assassinate the king. Without hesitation, Mordecai alerted Esther, who quickly exposed the evil plan. An investigation confirmed the truth, and the two traitors were hanged. Mordecai's loyalty was recorded in the royal records. All seemed well until the king favored Haman, an Agagite noble, elevating him above all the royal princes. Drunk on power, Haman demanded that everyone bow to him. But one man, a stubborn Jew named Mordecai, refused to bow before him. Haman's hatred burned like wildfire. If Mordecai would not kneel then, driven by ancient hatred, all Jews must be made to kneel before Haman or be destroyed. With a serpent's tongue, Haman poisoned the mind of the king.
"O great majesty, there is a people scattered throughout your lands whose customs differ from all others. They defy your laws and threaten the peace of your kingdom.
And who are these disloyal subjects?
If it pleases you, my liege, let it be decreed that this people be destroyed, wiped from the face of your empire.
Fooled by Haman's lies and not knowing he was talking about the Jews, King Xerxes agreed to the evil plan. The decree was issued. On the 13th day of Adar, the Jewish people would be killed. The casting of lots gave this day its name, Purim. A feeling of terror spread among the Jews as they heard about the decree. In their darkest hour, they looked to Mordecai and Queen Esther as their only hope. Mordecai encouraged Esther to go to the king and plead for mercy to save their people from being killed. But the rules were strict. Approaching the king without being summoned could result in death. Esther's courage rose to meet the crisis. She would risk her very life, but first called on Mordecai to gather the Jews to fast and pray for her for 3 long days and nights. The 3 days passed like an eternity. Then, adorned in her royal finery, Esther took a breath and made her way into the inner court of the palace. If the king did not extend his golden scepter, it could mean her execution. The moments stretched endlessly as Esther stood before her husband, the king. Then, his eyes softened as he saw his beautiful wife. He extended the scepter, granting her leave to approach and make her petition. Esther invited the king and Haman to a banquet. During the first banquet, the king was once again captivated by Esther's charm.
"What is your desire, my queen? Ask, and it shall be given, up to half my kingdom."
But Esther played a careful game. She merely requested that the king and Haman attend her banquet once more the following night. At this second, pivotal banquet, Esther revealed the truth. The wicked Haman had deceived the king and condemned her people, the Jews, to death. She begged for her own life and the lives of her people. The king's face twisted in anger at this betrayal. He stormed out into the palace gardens, his world shattered by Haman's treachery. That fateful night, the king tossed and turned, sleep eluding him.
"Bring me the records of my rule. Read them out loud."
As the records were recounted, the king was reminded of the day Mordecai exposed the plot against his very life by Bigthan and Teresh.
"What honor was bestowed upon this man for his loyalty?"
Nothing has been done for Mordecai.
"Then summon Haman at once, so we may honor this man as he deserves."
When the smug Haman arrived, the king asked,
"What should be done for the man the king wishes to honor?"
Haman, thinking the king is talking about him, responded,
For such a man, let him be dressed in the king's royal robes and led through the streets on the king's horse. This is what is done for the man the king delights to honor.
"An excellent idea. Now go and do so for Mordecai the Jew."
The man he hated above all was to receive the highest honor, but he could not refuse his king. So the miserable Haman led Mordecai, dressed in the king's robes, through the streets of Susa, announcing the honor given to this simple Jew. Haman then went home in shame, with his head covered. His wife and advisors warned him that this was just the beginning of his downfall at the hands of the Jews. Meanwhile, in the palace gardens, a eunuch informed the king that Haman had erected gallows to hang Mordecai.
"Then hang Haman on those very gallows,"
Roared the king. And so the wicked Haman met his demise on the instrument of his own malice toward Mordecai. With Haman's evil scheme exposed, the king elevated Mordecai to power and issued a new decree on the day previously marked for their destruction. The Jews had the king's blessing to defend themselves against any who dared attack them. And so it was, on that fateful day, the Jews prevailed against their enemies with the help of the royal officials. Mordecai took his place as a noble prince of Persia. He sent letters throughout the kingdom establishing an annual commemoration of the Jews' deliverance from Haman's plot to be called the Festival of Purim. And so it was that the Jews embraced this tradition wholeheartedly. Every year they would gather to feast, rejoice, and give gifts to one another, celebrating their rescue from destruction. Their grief had turned to gladness, their mourning into a holiday. The festival of Purim remains a time of great joy, reminding the Jewish people through all generations of their miraculous redemption from ancient Persia's evil decree. Esther's story reveals that our choices, whether wicked like Haman's or righteous like Esther's, carry consequences that ripple outward. One person's obedience to do what is right, no matter the cost, can impact generations to come. From the depths of mourning, God raised his people to triumph over their enemies through Esther's resolve. What seemed like an inescapable tragedy was turned into rescue by the power of the Almighty. So, have faith, dear friends. The unseen hand of God is always working, turning even the darkest times into part of his plan. Be ready to embrace your purpose and walk bravely on the path before you. For who knows, maybe you too were born for such a time as this.